Oh, well, we got a quorum. We got 6, so we'll, yeah.
He was a busy boy. That was the last one. I didn't even hear you the last time I was supposed to vote. So maybe you got the secretary.
It's time. Ready? Good evening. Welcome to the October 16th, 2019 Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. At this time, I would request that everyone please turn off or mute all cell phones and other electronic devices. And at this time, I request everyone please stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Conditional use permits will be heard tonight, and once the commission makes a recommendation, the applications will be scheduled to be introduced at the Tuesday, November 12th, 2019 County Council meeting. Public comment will be taken tonight and at the council meeting on Tuesday, November 12th, 2019. Public comment on conditional use permit applications will not be taken at any meeting of the county council held thereafter. Applications for preliminary subdivision plats heard during tonight's meeting will be voted on by the Planning and Zoning Commission during the meeting. The vote on preliminary plats is final. Only a recommendation for denial of a preliminary plat will be heard before the county council. The following documents are introduced as a matter of record for this evening's public hearing and regular meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission. Those documents are the Unified Development Ordinance of St. Charles County, including zoning maps, and the year 2030 Master Plan for St. Charles County, which includes the year 2030 Future Land Use Plan map. I see that we have a quorum to have a motion to open the meeting.
So moved.
Is there a second? All in favor, sign aye.
Aye.
Okay, we open our meeting. For those who have not been to a Planning and Zoning Commission before, our procedure is that I will read into the record the application. We will ask staff for a report. At that time, any of the commissioners may ask the staff questions. Then we will have the applicant come forward to present their application and answer any questions that the commission may have. Then we will open the application up to the public. Anyone present who's wishing to speak for or against the application may come forward. And once we have heard everyone that wants to speak regarding the application, then we will call the applicant back to answer any questions or concerns that may have been raised as part of the public hearing. Once the public hearing is closed, we will take no more comments from the public. And when you come forward, we are hearing of record, so I will have to swear you in. And then here on the rail, there's the little white cards. If you're going to speak, please fill one of those out so that we get your name correct in our minutes. The first item on the agenda this evening is an application for conditional use permit. It's CUP 19-04. The location is 105 Lake Valley Drive. The applicant property owner is Alexander Richardson Weber LLC, also known as the Yacht Club of St. Louis. Property zoning is a agricultural district with floodway fringe overlay district. The conditional use permit request is for a private club and restaurant. The 2030 master plan recommends agricultural floodplain uses. The parcel size is 82.32 acres. The location is approximately 3,900 feet west of West Shawn Road on the Mississippi River. Is located in Council District 6. Staff.
All right, on this application, I'm showing you right here where the current Yacht Club of St. Louis is located, and as you can see, it was affected by the 2019 flood. The applicant is proposing to relocate this clubhouse, build a new one on elevated ground, approximately 500 feet southeast of the existing Yacht Club of St. Louis. They're currently working on elevating the ground right now. This is a request for two separate conditional uses. The first is for the private club, and the second is for the restaurant associated with the club. It is a private club. They did indicate that it is open to the public, but it's primarily for private members. The applicant is also proposing to relocate the pool, which was also down right next to the Mississippi, and along with that, parking and sufficient parking to go with the private club. Staff is recommending approval of both conditional use requests. Not only will it be a better use along the Mississippi, it still has access to the river, but it also helps to keep emergency personnel and community development building officials out of danger when they do not have to respond right away to a building being flooded like that. So with that, staff is recommending approval on both requests, and there have been no communications received.
Any questions for staff? Seeing none, we'll ask the applicant to come forward. Please raise your right hand. You solemnly swear or affirm that you will tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in these proceedings under the pains and penalties of perjury.
Yes, sir.
Please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Jeff Moon. I'm with Bax Engineering. Excuse me. It's 221 Point West Boulevard, St. Charles, Missouri, 63301.
Go ahead, Jay.
As Elliot stated, what we're wanting to do is relocate the restaurant, the club, and the pool. As it currently sits, it's adjacent to the river. It's been flooded for the last 5 years. I think every year it's had damage. They've contemplated moving it before, but it wasn't allowable because of the floodway location. Most of the majority of the property was in the floodway. But since that time, with the new maps that came out recently, the Corps and FEMA have relocated the floodway along the river banks. So now the current property up the hill is available in floodplain, so it can be filled. So that's what we're proposing to do, is to raise this up out of the floodplain elevation so it wouldn't be, hopefully, not damaged again. So that's the plan, to do that. So, like I say, that's really what we're doing, is just looking to replace what's there now and just get it up out of the water. It was over 50% damage, so we couldn't repair it as it was, so then it has to be brought up to code. So because of the code, we have to go through the CUP process for the restaurant and the club, but it was grandfathered previously. So, and I don't recall there being any issues with the operation in the past, but I'll answer any questions.
Any questions with the applicant?
Yeah, I was just curious, how much higher elevation-wise is the restaurant now going to be?
It's going to be 8 feet above the grade that it's currently now.
And what about, and obviously it's not in the floodway anymore, what is it, like 100-year flood, 500, or where does that fall into the area where it would be
We're
potential?
designing it to be 2 feet above the 100-year flood, the base grade. I don't know exactly what the 500-year is.
Okay.
I don't know that we'd be out of that, but we're definitely above the 100-year.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for the applicant? Seeing none, thank you, sir. We will now open the public hearing for CUP 19-04. Anyone wishing to come and speak regarding this application?
Sir? I'm sorry, go ahead. No, I just had a question.
Would
How
you-
will it affect,
You have to come forward.
oh, okay, I'm sorry.
You solemnly swear or affirm that you will tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in these proceedings from the pains and penalties of perjury.
I so do.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Anita Beck, and the address is 10510 South Mississippi River Road
Okay,
in Golden Eagle, Illinois.
okay.
We own property at the end of El Camino Drive. My question is, the elevation, how will that affect the roadway back into El Camino Drive and the river?
Okay, we will, when we ask the applicant to come back, we will ask him that question.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else? Mr. Denoff? You solemnly swear or affirm that you will tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in these proceedings from the pains and penalties of perjury.
Yes, I do.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Thank you very much, members of the commission. My name is Arnie C. A.C. Dienoff, public advocate and resident, and my mailing address is P.O. Box 1535, O'Fallon. I agree with staff that this is the best use of the land. However, I have some flooding concerns for any people or parcels of land, either upstream or downstream. I also looked through the packet, and I did not see communication from some of our partners. The first lack of communication was from the River Point Fire Protection District on their fire marshal, and if this meets their fire code of the International Building Code for fire suppression. And then I also don't see an approval letter from the Army Corps of Engineers, St. Louis region. I would think that that would be step number one, that you'd go to the Corps and get approval. If I overlooked, I don't see any of those communication or letters in the packet, and those are my concerns, along with the flooding of adjoining properties because of the elevation. But otherwise, it's a good use of the land, and I would be in favor of this proposal.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak regarding this application? Anyone else? Seeing no one, we will close the public hearing. Ask the applicant to come back.
Okay, regarding the effect on El Camino Drive, there is none. You can see from the plan, we're only going to be affecting a portion of our road there that we're going to regrade, be able to raise it up to get access to the new building elevation, so there won't be any impact on the adjacent owners regarding that. Okay, flooding issue, this is designed with the floodplain, the way it's up with the floodway, you could fill the whole floodplain and it would not have more than a 1% effect on the area surrounding that. If you filled every area, the whole site, it would not happen. This will be a minimal impact. In fact, it will probably be a zero impact, because if you'll notice where the existing structure is, all that's going to be demolished and torn down. So that will all be removed out. The parking lot, the storage lot, all that's going to be taken away. The fill for this site is coming from the stockpile area that is currently there now, so that will compensate for that fill area. So we haven't done a flood study because it's not required, because we can fill in the floodplain, but there will not be any impact on flooding on anybody's property. Okay? Regarding the fire department, that will be done when we submit the building plans. That's typically when you get the fire department approval, is during that, not for this. This, we have access. There's not an issue with that. As staff had pointed out, it's actually better the way it's set up now, they won't be concerned about getting into floodwaters and having any concern about that with any of the emergency personnel. Regarding the Corps of Engineers, you don't see a letter because we don't need a permit from them. We do have a letter of no permit required, which I can provide to staff. I don't know if you've seen it before or not, but we have gone through the Corps and received their no permit requirement. And we have gone through DNR and got our permit to fill in this area. So we've met those requirements to be doing the work that we are currently doing now.
Any questions, further questions for the applicant?
Where is El Camino Drive in relation to,
She's showing it down, it's right there.
okay,
And we're farther to the south on the other side of where the,
Okay.
all the docks are.
thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions for the applicant? Hearing none, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
We will now bring application CUP 19-04 back to the commission. Anyone have any questions, comments, questions of staff?
Motion to approve CUP 1904 and the 2 conditional uses.
Seconded?
Okay. Do we need to vote separately?
Do we have to vote?
I think it would,
It's 1 seat.
I think it would be best to vote on them separately. I mean, be cleaner to do so. And it's a recommendation for approval. Also, if there's any conditions recommended by staff in the staff report, you might state whether you're recommending with any conditions or no conditions.
Okay. So you want to make your motion on which one first?
The first one, then, the conditional use permit for the private club.
Okay. Is there a second?
Yes, I second.
Mr. Clary, second. So we have a motion to approve the request under CUP 19-04, the conditional use for a private club with the conditions recommended by staff. We have a motion and a second. Ms. Sally, how do you vote?
Yes,
Mr. Clary?
Yes.
Mr. Leonard?
Abstain.
Abstain. Mr. Fromm?
Yes.
Mr. Kuhn?
Yes.
Mr. McDonald?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Okay, that passes 6-0-1. So next, Chair will entertain a motion, application CUP 19-04, conditional use permit for a restaurant at the described location. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Mr. Clary makes the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Kuhn makes a second. So, Mr. McDonald, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Kuhn?
Yes.
Mr. Leonard?
Abstain.
Mr. Clary?
Yes.
Mr. Fromm?
Yes.
Ms. Sally?
yes,
I vote yes. Passes 6-0-1. Okay. The next application for consideration is CUP 19-05, a conditional use permit located at 405 Bridle Path Lane. The applicant property owner is Matthew and Diane Rappling. Did you get that right? Okay. Property zoning is A, agricultural district with floodway and flood fringe overlay districts. Conditional use request is a lawn care service with indoor storage of vehicles and equipment required. The 2013 master plan recommends low-density residential use. A parcel size is 3 acres. The location is on the south side of Bridle Path Lane within the Country Life Estate subdivision adjacent to the city of St. Paul and near the city of O'Fallon, located in Council District 1. Staff.
Thank you. Again, 405 Bridle Path Lane in Country Life State subdivision. The subdivision is zoned agricultural, agricultural. So it's a lot of 3 acres. And in the agricultural zoning district, one of the conditional uses that can be applied for is a lawn care service. And I want to be specific because our definitions in our code differentiates between lawn care service and a landscape contractor. So for a lawn care service, that particular use can only be cutting grass. It can't include, cutting trees, having stone, gravel, things like that, because that sort of use often includes outdoor storage and it's just more intensive. So applicants in the agricultural zoning district can apply for this lawn care service CUP. The property owners have applied to operate the lawn care service from this residence in this residential neighborhood. Now, they could do this as a home occupation if it were just an office, but they're looking at more than just an office, including having employees, as I understand it, employees come meet at the house and then leave for the job site, and also including storage of vehicles and lawn equipment at the house. Now, one of the technical requirements for a lawn care service is that all vehicles and equipment must be stored indoors inside an accessory building. And so you could have no outdoor storage for materials and equipment related to that conditional use permit. So should this be approved, that's already in the code, that would have to be stored indoors. As part of the review, you might want to think about what impacts there may or may not be for a lawn care business. And so some of the things that we've heard concerns about from neighbors include things like, starting up lawn mowers in the morning, loading trucks, or I should say trailers, employees coming, which there's additional traffic coming to and from, at least in the morning and in the afternoon. Those are some of the things to think about. Again, if there's any other activities like cutting tree limbs and disposing those on the property or anything like that, that should not be happening as part of a lawn care business. So the questions for you to consider, and these are part of the CUP analysis. Will the conditional use injure the use and enjoyment of other property in the immediate vicinity for the purposes already permitted, or to the aesthetic and or scenic values of the vicinity? Would the conditional use substantially diminish and impair property values within the neighborhood? Would the establishment of the conditional use impede the normal and orderly development and improvement of surrounding property for uses permitted in the district? Given the CUP factors or considerations, and the fact that the proposed location is within the middle of the subdivision, not on the edge of the subdivision, county staff is recommending that the Planning and Zoning Commission recommend denial for the conditional use permit. One thing that we're concerned about is if this had been a different situation where it was on the edge of the subdivision and it had direct access from an outside street, it might be different, we feel. But again, this is within the subdivision itself. Now, should you decide that you want to recommend in favor, you could recommend in favor of one of two ways: recommend in favor with no conditions, or recommend in favor with conditions. So if you should choose the latter, for your consideration, we've drafted some conditions for you to think about. And again, it's up to you whether you want to incorporate any conditions within a recommendation. County staff has received, as part of our record, 4 letters in support, 7 letters in opposition, and then a petition with 11 name or signatures on it in opposition.
Any questions of staff?
Is there a size of a business that kind of allows it to go from one category to another in this zoning that is allowed?
Our ordinance doesn't base it on size. It just has a requirement that it shall be have indoor storage. It shall be limited to lawn care, and then also I think by conditions you can limit it to a certain size. And for instance, if everything has to be stored inside a building, if the building wants to be expanded beyond, I think it's 15%, they have to come back to this body and for a revised conditional use permit. In other words, they've got to stick to a concept plan. So the concept plan is what you have before you here. Now, I will say, I might offer that the accessory building that's shown on here, the size that they have, 28 by 16 foot enclosed structure, I'm frankly not sure that how many trucks or trailers you can fit within a 28 by 16 foot enclosed structure, but should be able to include something, maybe one truck and one trailer.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for staff? Seeing none, we'll ask the applicant to come forward. Please raise your right hand. You solemnly swear or affirm that you will tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in these proceedings under the pains and penalties of perjury.
I do.
Please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Matt Raplin. I live at 405 Bridle Path Lane, O'Fallon, Missouri, 63366.
Okay, go ahead, Matt.
Okay. I just told you where I live. So I live in my house with my wife, my 3 teenage children, and my niece, which is a college student, also lives with us. I've been running my lawn care business for 5 years out of that house. I did not know I needed this certain permit, so when I was made aware of that, I applied for it. We bought the house about 4.5 years ago, and when we did, it was in complete disarray from the previous owners. So for the past 4.5 years, we've been completely remodeling this entire house. And as far as, so we know that there's a lot of work need to be done, so we chose to move in this house and take it on. And I bought this house, the realtor that showed us the property let us know that it was an agriculture district, that we were, and I was allowed to possibly keep equipment there. So that's why I purchased the house from where I previously lived. So for 6 months, we had abundance of vehicles there helping us rehab the house, family members plus contractors. These were not all lawn care employees. My small lawn care business employs 1 full-time individual and 1 employee who works on a part-time basis depending on the need for the season. The majority of my business is lawn cutting. In addition, I aerate and I seed in the fall. I do not fertilize or landscape, therefore there are no chemicals stored anywhere on my property. Any lawn care waste collected during the day, I dispose of at St. Peter's Recycling Center. I don't bring anything home and dispose of it on my property. I have receipts to prove this. There is absolutely no dumping of any material on my property. In the past, employees have parked their vehicle on my driveway and then they take 1 truck and trailer off the property. I now have gravel leading to the back of my home, and my full-time employee parks in the back out of sight. This is the only extra traffic that is occurring in the neighborhood is 1 truck and trailer, besides the truck and trailer I drive, leaving my driveway. There was reports that people were parking in my yard. I would never allow people to park in my yard. I take great pride in my yard. There is no work occurring at my property other than people leaving, and there's absolutely no customers of my business coming to my house. All my bids I do on site at people's houses or via email or text. So the increased traffic might be of concern, I believe, is related more to the fact that I have 3 teenage drivers now that I've accumulated in the last 2 years. My kids are all driving, so we've had to purchase 3 more vehicles. Some of the pictures that the county has taken of my house, and I've circled the cars, and some of the pictures that I have are actually cars in the driveway are my children's cars and my niece's car that lives with us. They're not my employees' vehicles. The gravel parking lot was added in the back of our residence, not only for my lawn care guys to park on, but also we both have large families. So I built it to keep, when we have parties, to keep people from parking in the street so they could park behind my house. Because when I bought the house, the guy that lived there before already kind of had a gravel way going to the back of the house. It was covered in weeds, so I basically just cleaned it all up and just kind of added more rock to it because it was already there. So that's why we did that, was to accommodate for large family parties and stuff too, not just my business. And the only noise that is occurring in the morning is after 7 o'clock. We start our mowers at low idle speed for no more than a minute, put them on the trailer, we turn them off, and then my guys leave. Then they return in the afternoon, same process, they turn them on. And I have an area under my house that was already there that we park everything in. All my equipment is inside, and it's just lawnmowers, that's all I have. I have absolutely no intention of growing my small business. In fact, since I moved into this residence, I've actually scaled it down. There will be no more equipment purchase or employees hired. We have ample space for the equipment that I have, and everything is out of sight in a garage behind the house underneath the sunroom. The garage is made up of 3 concrete walls, and the ceiling is rocked with fire code drywall. I apologize, I did not realize it was necessary to keep an additional trailer underneath the covered area. We are more than willing to adhere to the request. I do realize that the concept plan has proposed a garage to be built. Our engineer added this as a potential future. However, I deem this unnecessary given the equipment that I currently have is all stored adequately. I understand that one of the county's concerns is that the business will negatively affect neighbors' property value. Since we moved in, we have invested over $70,000 in improvements in and outside of this home. I feel fully confident that we will have more, and help other people's property values in the neighborhood, and we will continue to do so as we still have a long list of improvements that are currently underway on the house. Take any questions if you got.
Questions for the applicant?
So you don't want to grow your business?
No, I've actually been doing this for 20 years. I'm downsizing. I used to have areas in Ladue. I've actually subcontracted that out. I've actually condensed my routes so I don't have to work as long hours anymore. So, yeah, I'm actually not wanting to grow anymore. I'm pretty comfortable where I'm at.
So what so you will like turn down business or what? I mean, this looks like it would work right now, but if your business grew and you had to buy any equipment, I mean, everybody wants to do a little bit more than they're doing.
No, I've already done that. I've actually condensed my routes, so I'm not working as long, so I actually make more money condensing my route to certain areas. I was in Ladue, O'Fallon, Winsville, St. Charles, so I've kind of condensed it where I'm more trying to stay in the St. Charles area, where O'Fallon, Winsville, and Lake St. Louis is more closer to my location, versus having my guys drive all out to Ladue. That's 2 or 3 hours of payroll just to get there and back before they perform any work.
Right.
So actually, I'm actually making more money down. And plus, over the last 5 or 6 years, trying to find quality employees is hard to do. So I've just decided I'm just going to do more of the work myself and just keep one guy full time. He drives one of my trucks, and I usually hire a high school kid in the summer to kind of help out, give kids jobs.
So you only have one employee?
I have one full-time guy, and then I have a high school kid, or he's actually graduated now, it's my nephew. He works with us part-time.
Okay.
So usually in the summer, like I said, I'll hire a part-time guy. Most of the high school kids can work 5 or 6 weeks out of the summer, and then they go back to school.
Right.
So usually in the spring, it's just me and my one full-time guy. We ride in one truck usually, and then when I get a summer help, usually in the end of May, I'll send him with him, and then I work by myself.
Okay.
Most days I work by myself. I usually try to keep my full-time guy with a part-time guy if I can.
Right.
Do
you do any snow removal during the winter?
No, sir. I used to years ago, but the up and down snow here, I sold my plow. I got out of the business of snow plowing. I don't even mess with it anymore.
The various equipment, when does that get maintained? When do you do maintenance? I mean, is it, I know your hours that you started are just in the morning until the evening, like just ongoing maintenance and repair of the equipment. When's that done?
Usually I'll sharpen blades in the morning after quiet hours, or usually about 7:30, 7:45. And it's all done inside my garage. I have a blade sharpener. It's just a grinder. I don't think anybody can really hear that. I mean, my family never wakes up when I sharpen my blades, and their rooms are right across the way. So,
Gotcha.
And I change oil at my house on my mowers, but it's all in oil pans, and I take it to the AutoZone and recycle it.
Gotcha.
So, I do all my own maintenance as far as oil changes. I have 4 lawnmowers that I use, 2 per crew, and then I do leaf cleanup with the same lawnmowers for my customers. But like I said, all the debris is dumped at St. Peter's Recycling Center. Like I said, I was unaware that my trailers had to be in a covered area. I do have them parked behind my house where they're not noticeable from the street. So, I mean, nothing is visible. I mean, I don't want everything sitting out anyways.
Right.
So, but all my lawnmowers, everything are all kept indoors.
Okay, thank you.
So,
So how many vehicles do you have that you wouldn't have if you weren't in the lawn care business?
I have 2 trucks that I use for my lawn care business, that's it. And they're both
You
have
have 2
250s.
extra trucks on
2
the
extra, and I have
property,
a personal Silverado, and then I have a Tahoe for my wife, Kia for my children, my niece has a Kia, and my son and daughter split a Civic. Well, I had another car, but it was totaled, so we're down to 2 vehicles for the 3 children now. So, I mean, I have a lot of cars in my house every day just because I have 3 teenage children, and their friends come over, and usually my driveway's full every day. But I mean, it's just kids coming over to hang out with my son and my daughters.
Any other questions for the applicant? Okay,
Thank you.
thank you, sir. We will now open the public hearing for CUP 19-05. Anyone here wishing to speak regarding this application? Please-
Steve.
please raise your
yep,
hand.
yep, right.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that you will tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in these proceedings under the pains and penalties of perjury?
I do.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Steve Tizon at 509 Bridle Path Lane, right next door to
Okay, go ahead,
405. I am here tonight to ask St. Charles County Planning and Zoning Commission to deny 405 Bridle Path Lane from obtaining a conditional use permit. The homeowners of Country Life Estates do not want a business operating out of our subdivision. The lawn care business that Mr. Rappling has been operating has brought a continuous amount of noise, smoke, and traffic to an otherwise quiet and peaceful subdivision. A typical day starts with the workers showing up after 7 a.m. In the beginning, when he did first move in, there were a lot of his employees that did park along the on Bridle Path Lane. That was an issue. We had they actually received somebody posted a card on there that said we don't like what you're doing, and we were friends with them, and we know their family, and it's a great family. We have nothing against the family. It's just the business is the issue. They used to have cars park along that road. Since then, they have stopped doing that. The workers now park around the back. So a typical day, the workers do come in after 7 a.m. and they will back their trucks up or use the trailer that Mr. Rappling has, and they have a trailer on them, and then they will, and one of their vehicles has a loud beeping sound that when it's in backup mode, it's the beep, beep, beep. They do have his lawn equipment is stored under that house, the commercial mowers, but the trailers that he has and the trucks, those are exposed in the back. So they will go under the house, they start the commercial mowers, and they will drive them out into the yard. Now, they'll either load them up directly onto the trailer, or they do let them warm up and sit and idle out in the backyard. They will, at that time when they're idling, they will then load up the leaf blowers, the weed eaters, and any other items that they seem necessary to do the job. Not all the workers show up at the same time, so this process can be repeated up to 3 times. I've documented it at 3 times. They've had people come, the mowers start up, they load the trailer, they drive away. Then at 7:30, another person comes, same issue, and then at 7:45, another person came. This may have been when it was the summertime, when it was in their busy season, but they did, on occasions, have at least 3 different workers or people leaving that facility. It is not true that there's one employee working there. There's many employees, and it may have been his sons working there in the summer, but there was a lot more than one person working there. So yes, it can be repeated up through time. They eventually drive off to go do wherever they need to do their job. Then they all start returning back around 4:30 to 5:30, and this too can be staggering. And then when they unload the equipment, same thing, they come off. But before they will empty the equipment off the trailers, he has a dump truck, or somebody has a dump truck, or sometimes the trailers will have, I guess there's boards on the sides, but those are filled with green branches and leaves and debris. It is not true that he takes those to St. Charles. I wish he would take them to St. Peter's Recycling, but that is not what has been happening in the past. I actually, when they first moved there, he was doing it so continuously that I went over and talked to him about it, and he did curtail that down, but he still does continue to burn that debris. And the problem with the green debris is that it doesn't burn. So, I have photographs of that, but he'll bring limbs and different stuff, and he puts it in a pile in the back, and then he gets anxious to burn it, so he's been out there with a leaf blower trying to get it to burn, and that green, as you know, it's a tremendous amount of smoke from trying to burn something that's green. So we'll have our windows open, and my neighbors have complained about this too, that we go and close the windows down, and it's just, it'll be an evening and night full of smoke that lingers if there's no wind. So that is one of our issues that we tried to resolve. So they will take the leaf blowers, and then he cleans off the equipment. So you're having a leaf blower clean off the commercial equipment, which is also an extra loud noise. And again, these are all commercial. This isn't the Home Depot push mower, that you get. This is a commercial mower that you stand behind or sit and ride. The same with I would assume the leaf blower is not something that you buy at Home Depot. It's the backpack kind. So they're, commercial, they're extra loud. They do then drive those lawnmowers back underneath the house. This process repeats daily, this process repeats twice a day, 5 days a week. At some point, then Mr. Rappling will attempt to burn the large pile of green material, which produces a tremendous amount of smoke. The material, I stated here the same thing that was recommended, that it should clearly have been taken to a recycling center. In addition to all this, Mr. Rappling still needs to maintain his own lawn care. So either in the evenings or on the weekends, the commercial mowers come back out, the weed eaters and the leaf blowers start up again to do his own yard. Also, the grinding of the maintenance that you talked about, it is loud enough for us to hear it. We can hear metal grinding, sharpening blades in the vicinity of that house. It's not quiet. I understand why Mr. Rappling is doing this. It's a money-saving ploy. You can, of course, save a lot of money by operating a business out of a subdivision, but this is not fair. It's not fair to all the other lawn care businesses in the area, and it's definitely not fair to the homeowners of Country Life Estates. There are many options. There are some options for Mr. Rappling. One, he could have his workers keep equipment at their home and notify them the night or the morning before to where they need to go. But I'm assuming he doesn't have workers that can store this at their house either, for the same reason that we're here tonight. Two, he could have the equipment off-site in an industrial park, like one of our neighbors who owns a concrete company. We have Craig & Sons is just 2 houses down, and they own a concrete company. They have an off-site up on Lane Drive, and of course, he has a huge facility at his house, but he does not have workers show up there. He gets in his truck and drives up there. Mr. Rappling could do the same thing and have all the equipment that he wanted. And 3, he could store all his equipment at a storage lot where he could meet his workers every morning, and there is one very close to our subdivision. As I went around gathering signatures opposing the CUP, it was reassuring that almost everyone agreed that this is a bad idea. That is why I have roughly 15 signatures. Almost every neighbor that I talked to was against this. Not only do I have 15 here, I think there were some letters that were sent in. The neighbor across the street also was vehemently against this. We do not want this business operating in our subdivision. Allowing a conditional use permit for 405 Bridle Path will likely lead to more workers, more traffic, more mowers, and more fires, and more disturbing of our peace and quiet that we have come to enjoy while living in Country Life Estates for the past 20, 30, and some of us have been there for 40 years. Granting a conditional use permit in our subdivision will have devastating effects on our home values, because who in their right mind is going to move into a house next to an active lawn care business, or maybe an auto repair business, or whatever else people can come up with? Do not allow the floodgates to open and destroy what some of us in this quiet, peaceful neighborhood have worked a lifetime to create. Let's see. I think that's it. Thank you for your time.
Any
Questions? How often is the burning going on in the backyard?
So it has curtailed down. It does still occur, though. It used to be very frequent. When he first moved there, he was doing it every, like, 3 or 4 days, he'd have burning. And I finally went up to him and asked him to, you know, I was asking if you could just put it in the back and let it at least dry out. But that didn't happen. So he does still burn, but it isn't like it was.
So it's heavier in the summer and it cuts
Yeah,
back?
I would say yes. And he does, and it does, you know, he operates all the way till, I mean, there's only a couple months that he takes off. It's not like he shuts down here in November and doesn't start up again till spring. You know, I guess there's air, I don't know too much about it, but I assume there's aerating and branches, or, you know, tree trimming and stuff that you can do.
Okay.
your observations about the starting of the mowers at 3 different times during the morning, was that recent, or was that 4 years
Yeah.
ago when he first started?
No, that's recent. I volunteered to go to 5th grade camp with Fort Zumwalt School Districts, and they leave on Sunday, they don't come back till Thursday. So the last 4 weeks, I have not been, I was up at Quiver River with 5th graders. I did document that month before, when I was talking to the Planning and Zoning Committee, I kept records of the, I have records here of the dates, actually. So that I was keeping track of that. And I did jot that down. Let me find it here. Okay, here it is. So that was, I've got July 2nd, lawnmower loading at 7:07, lawnmower loading at 7:53, and then lawnmower loading at 12 o'clock noon. And then I have 7:08, 7 o'clock lawnmower loading, 7:30 lawnmower loading, 7:45 lawnmower loading. And then they loaded up lawnmowers on 7:15 at 7:05. And then it looks like they came back at 11:10 due to rain. There are trucks coming in and out of there. We were working with, I know my neighbor Gonzalo, we were out there working, and there in the middle of the day there was another truckload of employees that came in the afternoon, and they came through and drove through there actually on the other side on the grass property for some reason, and they were dropping something off. So it is very active. And when I when I went and did this when I went and got people's signatures, one of the concerns that I didn't think about was they were concerned about the traffic. The people that live down from them, their access to get to the highway, you know, they got a truck and a trailer, and of course they're loud. They, you know, when they bounce up, they're loud. And their concern was that they noticed all the traffic that had been going by the houses, the in and out from their employees and Mr. Rappling. And yeah, everybody was on board. I know that you pointed out, I was going to bring that up too. I highlighted that in the actual section 4.05 or 405.510, the conditional use permit, that paragraph in there that says the conditional use will not injurious be injurious to the use and enjoyment of other properties in the immediate vicinity for the purpose of already permitted or to the aesthetic and/or scenic values of this vicinity, nor substantially diminish and impair property values within the neighborhood, and that the establishment of the conditional use will not impede the normal or orderly development and improvement of surrounding property for use permitted in the district. This is exactly why we're here. This will affect our property values and the way we have our life there with the peace and quiet that we've all been there forever. I don't know of any other business in there, and I've been there 20 years, and I have neighbors that have been there 30 and 40 years, and they've not talked about anything like this being an issue, so.
I have another question, sir. Is the back of the house, is it visible from your property?
Yes, yeah. Yep, I can look right over there and see the
Even
back
with
of the house.
even with the photos we have with the trees that surround?
Those are actually my tree, the trees that they're showing are, I put up that kind of a buffer of trees. They have some cottonwood trees that are very tall, but they trim the branches up real tall. There's no screen provided from their property. I have that screen as my.
Well, but the trees
shrubs.
between the properties.
Yeah, they're on my property. There's no.
Well, what I'm talking about,
Yes.
but there's trees.
Yes, there are. Yep. Yeah.
Got a
Yep.
question for him.
Go ahead.
This burning, did you ever think about talking to your local fire department about that
Well,
issue? Because
yes.
they will address it, believe me.
They will. And the issue with that is they come with the sirens blaring.
Right.
And the fire chief of O'Fallon, Mr. Ballman, he lives catty corner he actually signed this petition against it. He lives diagonally from the house. I know all about the fire, and again, the reason this is coming to the attention now is nobody wants to be that neighbor that causes, anybody, we kind of all do keep to ourselves. And, to call the fire department, I just didn't want to do that, but I do have that option, but they do come with the sirens going and everything else, so.
Well, they may just also warn him and tell him it's going to cost him some dollars the next time they show up.
Yeah,
They can do that too.
okay.
I would talk to him a lot more about it. He's a good fire chief.
Yes, he's been a very great neighbor, and I know him pretty good, so.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you, sir.
All right, thanks.
Anyone else wishing to speak regarding CUP 19-05? You solemnly swear or affirm that you will tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in these proceedings under the pains and penalties of perjury.
I do.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Tim Springer, 603 Oak Trail Lane, O'Fallon, Missouri.
Okay, go ahead.
Couple concerns. Traffic has increased tremendously. I live on the hill, on the top of the hill, and I get school buses, I get trucks with trailers, and they fly on it. I've seen the gentlemen's trucks coming up and down the road. Quite a bit of traffic, more so than I did notice. I'm semi-retired, so I'm there a lot. I see a lot. We have two gentlemen that I know of in the subdivision that have worked businesses out of their houses doing paperwork. One has a sod company, very large sod company. The other one's concrete, which you heard. They don't bring their equipment around. They don't bring nothing. Their employees, you might see them come over, stop by, but very seldom. This little subdivision has been quiet for a long time, and everybody kind of likes the way. I'm not trying to diss this gentleman on what he's doing, but I've sit here and I've listened to him running a couple trucks, running trailers, and he's going to put in a garage on the back. It better be a pretty big garage because he built the dirt all around his house. I'd say from the ground level of the street up about 8 foot to his floor line. So he's going to have to do a lot more work to put any type of structure in to hold his trucks and his trailers. If he does, and I've never heard of people scaling down a business, so that's the first time I've heard that with his kids driving now. They'll be coming up, dad'll be putting the kids to work, so they'll be working, I'm sure. Parking, I have seen as an issue out in the street down there, because I always come down since O'Fallon has opened that up to their subdivision next door. They don't take that way, because they put about 30 different structures, either whoop-de-doos or turnarounds that are too tight in that for a lot of vehicles and that. They come up Oak Trail Lane. So we see the blunt of all the traffic that goes down to the bottom of the hill, which I call. There's a lot of people in the subdivision, a lot of workers that have commercial vehicles that their bosses provide. Doesn't bother me. They're not doing work there. They're just using it to go to and from with the company vehicles. I really, like I said, it's a unique subdivision with the trees, the way they overhang the road and everything. We used to have Highway P look that way. It was kind of neat until Progress, and I understand Progress. I was in the construction industry for 45 years, so I understand it pretty good. I got grandkids, and I worry. I worry at the street. I got a lab, she'll walk right up next to the road, and she won't get in the road because I taught her not to and that. But it worries me because of the traffic flying and so much. And like I said, I'm on top of the hill, so everybody's buses, everybody. The speed limit's 25. I'd be glad if they would do 25 or 30. I never see it. And I've caught myself coming down that hill and speeding up, so I'm just as much to blame. But I did have noticed that the gentleman he did a lot of work on his house and his property. But I also noticed that he uses on the other side of his house where it's flat and everything, where he's bringing equipment in and everything, and that's not a roadway, driving in his grass. You know what I mean? So, and there again, he's running a business. It's hard to keep both places up when you're trying to run both through there. I just wish he would give us some consideration and keep Country Life Estates the way it is. We really enjoyed it. And I'm kind of new because I only moved in 1980s out there I built. So I've seen a lot of people come and I've seen a lot of people go. Thank you.
Any questions? No. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak regarding CUP 19-05? Do you solemnly swear or affirm that you'll tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in these proceedings under the pains and penalties of perjury?
Yes.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Amy Kolish, I'm at 50 Hickory Hill Drive. I'm across I'm in the subdivision behind the permitted, or the fellow, but we just hear a lot of noise in the evenings. We've been in there 3 years, and there's just a lot of noise. I totally support him wanting to have his own business, even run it out of his house. Doesn't bother me. They may care about the traffic, but we hear a lot of noise in the evenings.
What kind of noise were you?
Weed whackers, all kinds of stuff, just equipment, bobcats, all kinds of stuff, all till sometimes 9, 10 o'clock at night. So that's our only concern. And then I just would like you to put a restriction for noise on it, if you're going to approve him. I totally support it. You know, I'm sure other construction companies, when they do business, they build stuff, they have a time zone correct? Yeah, so that's all I'm looking for, is just a time zone thing. Totally supporting one to have his own business.
Any questions? Seeing none, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Me.
Here, just bring your wheelchair forward and go right to this mic right here.
Mic could be taken out.
Yeah. Yeah, just, give him that mic.
Yeah, just give it.
Sir, you can stay right there, just here.
Thank you.
Okay, let me swear you in. Raise your right hand, please, sir. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that you will tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in these proceedings or the pains and penalties of perjury?
Yes, I do.
Please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Donald Kramer. I live at 905 Bridle Path Lane.
Go ahead, Mr. Kramer.
I built my house in 1975. I used to live about 10, 15 minutes from McDonald, where I was employed for 40 years. And I kind of got tired of all the noise constantly. So I moved out here with my second wife, and we built this house. And I am opposed to what this gentleman is wanting. There are plenty of places in and around O'Fallon that would be willing to accommodate his needs. That's all I got to say. I was the third house in that area. It's residential, and as far as I'm concerned, it's going to stay that way.
Any questions? Seeing none, thank you, sir.
That's it.
Anyone else wishing to speak regarding CUP 19-05? You solemnly swear or affirm that you'll tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in these proceedings or the pains and penalties of perjury?
Yes, I do.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. My name is Arnie C. A.C. Dienoff, County Public Advocate. My mailing address, P.O. Box 1535, O'Fallon.
Go ahead.
This is a very tough issue here. I sympathize with both the property owner and especially the residents who have a lot of investment in the separate properties. I believe from the bottom of my heart that this is going to affect the sale and current property values of everybody in the subdivision. It's kind of a quasi-urban. Some of the subdivisions surrounding it are dense. This one is on 3 acres. So therefore, I would have to agree with staff's recommendation for denial. There are many opportunities around O'Fallon, including a number of storage areas that are being built or opening up. There's a lot of subdivisions that have covenants and restrictions that restrict businesses being in a residential zone, even though this is agricultural. There's equipment that's not allowed in subdivisions, boats, trailers, those type of things. I'm not sure if this is an association, if they have covenants and restrictions on file with the county recorder of deeds. My first inquiry to staff is, has the city of O'Fallon and the city of St. Paul been properly notified for any staff comments or to attend this and participate in this public hearing? If you are apt to approve this, which I am asking for denial and staff's recommendation, we pay the staff about $1 million of their professional expertise in their recommendation to you. So I would hope that you would put a lot of weight and a lot of stock in their salaries and their expertise in college education. If you opt to go for approval, I would like to see the following conditions be added. Condition number 1, no outdoor storage. Condition number 2, no debris being stored on the property. Condition 3, that no derelict, non-working machinery be allowed to remain on the property for more than 14 days. Number 4, limited composting. Number 5, limited storage of limb and leaves, just from the time that they're cut for a few days to be transported to a recycling center or a compost center. Number 6, that no commercial derelict or non-running vehicles be allowed to remain on the property. Because it is agricultural, farm equipment is allowed in an agricultural district for farming. Number 7, that proper screening of all trailers from public view, whether that's building an enclosure, building some type of site-proof fence to protect property values. Number 9 is under the sunroof that was testified by the applicant. That storage, that there be installed a site-proof fence or door and that none of the vehicles or machinery for the business can be seen from the street or the neighboring properties. It was testified by the first neighbor, I guess it's to the right, I'm not sure. Number 10, that no idling equipment for more than 10 minutes be allowed, and only between the hours of 7 a.m. and 6 p.m. I think that's reasonable. Number 8, the O'Fallon Fire Protection, or I'm sorry, number 11, the O'Fallon Fire Protection District has a no burning ordinance unless you receive a permit from Mike Morrison, the fire marshal. I asked that a condition be placed on the applicant that no burning. First of all, I'm against burning because of asthma, health concerns. The adjoining urban districts and Foggy Meadows, which is in the city of O'Fallon, it's a pretty dense subdivision. And so I would be against burning, but if you're intending to approve burning, that no burning be allowed without an approved permit from the O'Fallon Fire Protection District. And just to clarify the record, Mike Ballman no longer works for the O'Fallon Fire Protection District. He has not been the fire chief for over 5 years. The current fire chief of the fire district is Tom Vineyard. He took office on May 19th, 2014. And I just want to make it a matter of public record that Mike Morrison is the fire marshal of the O'Fallon Fire Protection District. And I'd like you to keep in mind that Foggy Meadows is a highly urban subdivision that's located in the city of O'Fallon, and I think the young lady that testified lives right behind there, so I would ask you to be cognizant of those subdivisions. For those reasons, I'm not trying to hurt anybody's economic opportunity, but there's plenty of storage areas, there's plenty of industrial places to keep your equipment and pay for a rental. I heard testimony that there's a concrete business. If you're going to go down that slippery slope and allow a condition for one person, then it's going to open up the doors for other businesses that want to move in to this subdivision and other subdivisions countywide. So I ask that you keep that in mind, that you don't set that new slippery slope and a new precedence. For those reasons, I ask that you deny this application. Do you have any questions?
Any questions for Mr. Denoff? Seeing none, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak regarding CUP-1905? Seeing no one, we will close public hearing. We'll ask the applicant to come back. Commission have any questions for the applicant?
How often do you do this burning?
Not very often. When I first moved in, I burned old cabinets that were in the house that we took out. But from my understanding, unincorporated St. Charles County, you are allowed to burn. So, I mean, as far as debris, I probably haven't had a fire, and I think I've had one fire, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 weeks ago. It was a bonfire. I had kids out there. It's not illegal as far as I know. I burn on a concrete pad in the center of my backyard. I burn tree branches. They fall out of my cottonwoods all the time. I burn them. I mean, he burns fires in his yard. I've seen him do it multiple times. Everybody in the neighborhood burns. I mean, the fire chief has never come over and stressed concern, or the former fire chief. I mean, all these neighbors that are here, I've never even met any of them. And as far as the noise, I'm concerned. I'm curious what they're talking about. Everybody in the neighborhood has lawnmowers like I have. We have 3-acre properties. They all have the same exact lawnmowers I do. My lawnmowers are not any more loud than anybody's lawnmowers. I mean, people cut their grass at all hours of the day in the neighborhood. I mean, I cut my grass when I get home, probably 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm not sure that's illegal. I use the same lawnmower. My neighbor has a Gravely, 0-turn. He has a Hustler. I mean, guy across the street has a Husqvarna. The other guy has a lawnmower that fits on a golf course. They're all the same lawnmowers. I'm confused at what the noise they're all talking about. I mean, we start the mowers up in the morning, I put them on the trailer, we turn them off. Now, as far as people leave at different times, my employees in the summer, he'll get there earlier, about 7, and then they leave. I usually leave my house about 8 or 8:30. I'm usually doing bookwork in the morning, calling customers. So the mowers, my mower may start up a little later, but everything is after quiet hours are over. So, I mean, I'm not running the lawnmowers and leaving them on and trying to make any noise. I mean, I live in the neighborhood too. I keep my property up. This property was pretty horrendous when I bought it. I mean, the pictures before and after are pretty substantial. I mean, the yard was fully covered in weeds, and now it's all grass in the front. As far as the trucks coming on the side of the house, That has nothing to do with my lawn care business. That is, I've poured a basketball court in the back for my children. I've extended the patio in the back of the house. I had gravel brought in to park my trucks on and extend just for people parking. And then I've had dirt brought in to backfill around my house because the water does come up in the back of the house. The back, I guess, is considered a floodplain. The house is not. So my house is built up a lot higher than all the other houses, which was like that when they built it in '96. I had nothing to do with any of that. So all I've done is poured a patio, put a basketball court in, extended my patio in the back, and then I brought the trucks come in there because they can't drive on my driveway. They'll break the drive. It's not wide enough anyways for the dump trucks to drive on it. So I made an area on the side of my house for them to drive in. And then once I'm finished all that, I have my own personal tractor. It's a small Kubota, which I can have on my property. With a tiller, I'm going to clean all that up and reseed it all. I mean, that's just what I've been doing since I've been rehabbing the house. It has nothing to do with my business. Any of the burning is from when I was rehabbing the house. Instead of paying to dump the cabinets, I just burned them. But it was all in the back of my house. I don't burn anything in the front. Everything's in the back. I mean, most people in the neighborhood burn. I mean, Kevin up the street on the hill, he's got a big old brush pile. He burns once in a while, and it's a lot of smoke. It doesn't bother me. I mean, everybody burns out there, so. I mean, I don't know. I can rebuttal it. I don't know if they have any other questions they want to ask me, but the noise is ridiculous. Everybody has lawnmowers in there, and they all cut their grass. I mean, some of the guys, the fire chief, the ex-fire chief will cut his grass sometimes at 8 o'clock in the morning on Saturday, but I don't call the county and complain about the noise. It's a lawnmower. Everybody's got to cut their grass.
So how many pieces of equipment do you actually have?
I have 4 commercial lawnmowers,
Okay.
and I have a tractor. That's my personal tractor that I bought for the house. When I bought the house, I had to replace the geothermal system that was in it that passed inspection when I bought the house. It went out. So they dug 4 250-foot trenches in my backyard to rerun all the new piping for the geothermal. Well, they just backfill all that and leave the piles. So I made a decision to trade in one of my lawnmowers to buy a tractor for the 3 acres to maintain it.
Is that look on that subject property that there's a path or something in the back of your yard? It looks like it from the Google Earth view. Can you bring that one up, possibly, Ellie?
Yeah.
Kind of curious about that.
Was that the area behind the house?
Yeah, there's like a path or something. Yeah, the aerial photograph. Can you tell me what that is?
Yeah, when I first bought the house, the guy that lived there before I guess he had rock. It was mainly covered. I didn't even know it was back there until I started cleaning the debris up. He had like a garden he built off the back of the driveway. Because the house they built the house up pretty high. Like my neighbor to the right, the guy that built that house built her house also. Which one?
Like path right there. You see it?
The long thing is the driveway and then going around.
That sort of L shape in the backyard.
Yeah, in the backyard kind of goes.
Oh, yeah, that's what they dug for the geothermal when they had to replace the furnace. That was last spring, I believe. Yeah, all the heavy equipment that's coming in has nothing to do with my lawn care. It's just, I got to get concrete trucks back there somehow, so I just designated a side of my yard to drive through, and then when it's all finished, I'm going to retill it back up and finish seeding it again. So that's what the dump trucks have been, and I actually, the day I poured the concrete, my wife knows the neighbor, so we actually texted her and let her know we were going to have concrete trucks coming in just to make them aware that we're going to have some trucks coming in out at 3 o'clock. They were pouring concrete. I think there was 4 trucks that came in and left.
Yeah, I'm still worried about them. I just didn't know if you were using it for your business, that's all. That's the only question.
What's that? Oh, no, that's the geothermal. Yeah, that was last spring, I think, when they did that.
Yeah, aren't you testing your equipment every day or whatever?
Oh, no. I said I bought the tractor so I could regrade this because I don't own a Bobcat, so.
Okay.
Any other questions for the applicant?
So have you, multiple people mentioned about a lot of storage areas, places nearby. Have you looked into that at all?
Yeah, actually I just called because of all this. There is a fenced-in area up the street, and I contacted the gentleman that owns it, and he told me he has no problem me storing a truck and trailer if I need to up there, but he said I would not leave any equipment here because things get stolen. That's my only concern. I have checked into that before I bought this house. I used to live just up the street in Falcon Crest, and I ran my business for 10 years out of that house, and I never had an issue. I parked my trailer in my garage, my mowers were under the house, And the neighbor across the street had a 50 by 50 pole barn that I parked my other truck over there. And then I bought this property because I thought I could keep my stuff there. It was from what the realtor told us, so
Yeah.
that was the only reason why I bought, I looked into storing it. It was going to cost me about, I think the cheapest place I found was $2,500 a month to rent a parking spot. And it's just pretty pricey for something like that. I mean, I don't have that much equipment. I mean, I really have 2 regular-sized pickup trucks. The one he's concerned with the beeping is an F-350. I didn't put the beeper on it. It's just what comes with them when you buy them. I can't even disable that. It's a safety feature.
Could you start your mowers when you get to your destination, or do you have to start them at home every morning?
Well, I have to start and put them on the trailers.
Oh, to roll them up there?
Yeah, you can't really push them. They're pretty heavy. It'd be a little tough. I've had to push them when they break down, but yeah, they're a little heavy.
I understand.
So, but yes, they're no different than any mowers that any of the neighbors have. They all have the exact same style mowers.
Okay.
So, I mean, it's not like they're extra loud or anything. They're lawnmowers. They have 23 horsepower engines on them. Start them up, put them on trailer, we turn them off.
All right.
So,
Wouldn't it be easier just to store them there overnight instead of taking them down and putting them on every day?
I usually keep them indoors, keep the dew and the weather off of them, so my equipment lasts longer. I take care of my equipment. It's not beat up or rusty. I have fairly new equipment.
Gotcha.
So,
Any other questions for the applicant? Seeing none, thank you, sir.
thank you.
We'll now bring CUP 19-05 back to the commission for consideration. Any questions of staff? Comments?
I think it's a poor location for a business. If I was a homeowner in this subdivision, I would not want this in there.
Any other questions?
I think that it sounds like Mr. Replin's trying to do the right thing, but I do think that with all the other business owners in there, if everyone took the opportunity to have equipment and storage on their own lots, I'm concerned that, the ongoing impact on an area like that.
Anyone else? Chair will entertain a motion to approve CUP 19-05. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Clary. Mr. Leonard, how do you vote?
No.
Mr. Fromm?
No.
Mr. Kuhn?
Yes.
Mr. McDonald?
No.
Miss Sally?
No.
Mr. Clary?
No.
And I vote no. Motion fails. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, does this go to the county council with a new recommendation?
Yes, this will go to the, as I read at the start of the meeting, this goes to the St. Charles County Council. They're meeting on Tuesday, November the 12th, back in this room.
I'm sorry, can I ask what is the purpose of that is?
The county council makes the final decision.
We have to be in attendance?
You don't have to, that's your,
The motion's been denied.
you can attend and state your case before the county council. They may have the final authority, final decision making. Okay. Next on the agenda is preliminary plat for the re-subdivision of Lot 75 of Woodcliff Estates, Plat 6-430. Plat 6 located at 430 Snipes Drive. Application number PRE 19-13. Property owners, the Yonker Family Residential Trust. Property surveyor is Alta Land Surveyors. Property zoning is R1E, Single Family Residential District, 7,000 square feet minimum lot size. Proposed lots are 2. The parcel size is 3.63 acres. Location is on the northeast side of Snipes Drive, approximately 300 feet northwest of Ridgeway Drive, located in Council District 7. Staff.
All right, this is a fairly simple plat. It is a large lot, almost 4 acres in size, but it is zoned R1E residential, 7,000 square foot minimum lot size. I believe when this plat was originally developed many years ago, that they did not have the Duckett Creek sewer system at the time. So I think this is why it is a larger lot. They are on Duckett Creek sewer now. The applicant is just requesting a simple split as shown on the property here. It does go through the lake or the pond located in the backyard, so they just still have access to that. Access would be from Robin Ann Drive on the other side. Let's see if I can pull this up and show you. Right here, Robin Ann Drive is on the north side of this property, so access would be from there. All of the streets are interior to the subdivision, so no new streets would be created. Staff is recommending approval with comments that are in process of being addressed.
Okay. Any questions for staff? The applicant here? You solemnly swear or affirm that you tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in these proceedings or the pains and penalties of perjury.
I do.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Good evening, council. My name is Laura Hedrick, LoraHeadrick. I'm with Altea Land Surveying. We're here to get the plat approved for the re-subdivision. The current owner right now is that owns the property, Becky Yonkers, is wanting to actually sell it to the adjacent property owner. So that is why she's requesting to have this. We're not doing a boundary adjustment. We're going to do a re-subdivision so she can sell off the extra parcel and have a new tax ID number to be able to give to the neighbor. The neighbor would like to walk over and fish in the pond and have access, which is the point being right now. He is not planning on building on the property at this time. Maybe in 10 years he will, but right now there's no. He just wants access to have more land and be able to fish on the pond. So.
Any questions? Seeing none? Okay, thank you. Anyone here wishing to speak regarding this preliminary plat? I'm just going to be in favor. It sounds like pretty simple and straightforward. Okay. Seeing no one here, we'll close the public hearing, bring this back to the commission for consideration. Any questions, comments, questions of staff?
Make a motion for approval.
Mr. Leonard makes a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Kuhn, second. Mr. McDonald?
Yes.
Ms. Sally?
Yes.
Mr. Clary?
Yes.
Mr. Leonard?
Yes.
Mr. Fromm?
Yes.
Mr. Kuhn?
Yes.
I vote yes. Passes 7-0-0. Okay. We have no continued items. Next on our agenda is the approval of the minutes from our September meeting.
Make sure they get that corrected.
I need to make some changes to it. You have the votes. Mr. Leonard voted twice on everything in the minutes. Voted twice? Yeah. On all of the approvals for the last month's meeting, it shows Mr. Leonard voting twice. One of them he actually voted yes and no. I think we missed Mr. Cleary possibly just didn't get in there. Can't remember. Yeah, Kevin. Looks like we missed Kevin. Kevin was here last month, and he's not at any of the votes. Okay. Yeah, so it needs a change. Somehow just a typo looks like.
Okay, so revise,
the minutes to reflect that Kevin was voted instead of Mr. Leonard voting twice.
good, okay. We'll make those changes.
Okay.
Now, if I voted twice, you should have paid me twice then, right?
Yeah, you better.
Either that or I'm gonna have to review what the votes are.
He voted no and yes on one of them.
Okay.
So he canceled himself out.
Okay, thanks, Greg.
I was confused.
Well, then we didn't have a quorum.
So the other thing had nothing to say.
Anyway, otherwise, make a motion to approve
As revised.
as revised.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All those in favor of approving the September 18, 2019 regular meetings as revised, sign aye.
Aye.
Revised minutes have been approved. Any planning and zoning division updates?
I don't have a prepared statement for this evening.
Okay. That brings us to number 9. Chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, sign aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned.
Very good.
8:25.